Hey you guys, this is Jess with Sourceful Journey, back with another video. I was debating on if I should talk about this topic or not. From what I understand here, I guess Trump, he pleads not guilty for, pleads not guilty in terms of charges for undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election by enlisting a state of fake electors, targeting several states. Is he being targeted for the fact that he pointed out that the whole entire election process is rigged? Is that what all of this is about? Let's talk about it. I mean, in my opinion, what he truly did from his end was just really shine a light on what's been always hidden from the public eye. It's one of those things that a lot of people, including myself, has always felt was hidden. And those who felt that way are always labeled as conspiracy theorists. Oh, you're nuts to even think that that's happening. We have such a pious justice system that could never happen. All in reality, you're an idiot for even being that naive to think that it can never be done. But now they're coming after this guy because all he did was shine a light on what truly takes place behind the scenes that the average everyday American citizen is not privy to. When I tell you guys that this man has a calling on his life, he truly goes against the grain for the people. No matter how many times these others that are within his field of work constantly throw daggers at him, he's taking them like a champ. And for who? And for what? He's doing it for us. When you think about it, you got the media constantly attacking him from left to right, backwards and forwards. You have people in his own camp turning against him. That truly disgusts me. It disgusts me from an empathic level, from a seer's perspective. It really disgusts me, especially when you know. And you can't help but wonder, does he know? Especially when it comes to certain ones within his camp. Kind of going back to what I said in the previous video, one of my earlier videos. You are under the impression you think you cleared all the snakes out, not realizing there's a few of them still hiding in the back. I think he's starting to realize that though. I feel that in some way he's probably starting to catch on to a few. Or maybe this could be viewed as him just playing chess, not checkers. Maybe. I remember there were a few instances, there were a few occasions when in previous years he was getting ready to endorse a certain candidate or certain candidates. And it's the funniest thing. It's one of those things where you kind of hate when your inklings, your gut is right about a certain person. I remember there were a few people he ended up getting into office or into their political roles and endorsing them, and I kept thinking, like, does he not see it? That you might not want to do that? And I always wonder, like, does he not have a spiritual advisor, someone who can kind of give him a heads up, like, hey, you might want to think twice about this person? And I don't think he does. Because then lo and behold, you end up noticing maybe a few weeks out or maybe a couple months later, the very person that he endorsed ends up stabbing him in the back. And it's all over the news, all over the media, and you're like, if someone would have just told him sooner. I remember plenty of times when certain stories came out and I kept thinking to myself, like, when I would see the individual on stage or getting ready to cross paths with him, and it's all in the news. And just like, yeah, someone needs to let him know, like, you might not want to mess with this person. And you know, the fact that he moves forward with his endorsement, the fact that he continues forward with it, tells me he doesn't have any type of second pair of eyes to kind of give him a heads up. Like, this one is no bueno. You might not want to do this, Don. But I think as time progresses onward, when people go through those experiences, they start to realize it's kind of like the saying, you live and you learn, right? So my hope is that maybe with him going forward, that those scenarios with those individuals who are still currently in their present positions that he endorsed, whether it may be those who are in actual political roles, or maybe those who are within our DOJ system, without saying any names, maybe he would start to think twice and seek outside counsel from some individual or group of individuals who can give him the heads up on a deeper scale of whether this is the person you should side with or not. It's very telling. I don't understand how people can deny that we're not all in some way or another connected spiritually. How people can deny that there is no spiritual space, spiritual plane outside of the physical plane that we live in right now. There's no way that individuals like myself should be able to pick up on that energy, if you will, of individuals before they even be given a chance to embark on their new positions just because of an endorsement. It's very telling. And I can't help but think those times when details came out about, sorry, you guys are back with Virginia, where details came out about the individual doing something that was in a way backstabbing him. I kept thinking to myself, like, this could have been avoided if someone would have just informed him. I think it's safe to say there needs to be maybe a segment of individuals or an individual on the panel, if you will, when it comes to looking at things on a deeper scale, as far as whether could this particular individual be trusted or not. Someone needs to, and not only just for Trump, not only for him to have that level of support beyond what he sees physically, but also for future presidents to come, future political figures to come. There should be like a separate group that can be positioned alongside the team, whoever's in office at the time, that can look at things on a deeper scale. Just so things can continue to run smoothly. I still stand by what I said in one of my previous videos about Trump. I feel like the reason why all of this is happening, because this is old stuff that's being hashed up over and over and over about January 6th, blah, 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 which I feel like all that was staged. I feel like it was all set up in my opinion, but because you know, there's so many details, so many images that came out of people being viewed as actors that may have shown up at another crisis scene, and it turns out it's the same person. And then that one guy who was wearing the, that horn hat of sorts on his head, and he came in with his chest bare with all that stuff on the insignia all over his body, and somehow that was I guess a way to mimic an image of a character that was once on The Simpsons. And you know, that's another video, I guess, because we all know how it is in terms of The Simpsons, right? The television show, the cartoon The Simpsons. How it's interesting, a lot of the stuff that played out in some of their segments, somehow it's played out in terms of what we deal with in our day-to-day. That cat has been out the bag for a while, so I don't need to really do a video on that. But you can't help but wonder. Things that just make you say, I say all that to say, my opinion is this. I still feel that in a lot of ways he's being attacked so heavily, and the reason why is because this man has a calling on his life. Something that's a lot deeper than what we see in the physical. And I feel the only way that they feel they can try to take down this lion is to do so in a way where they're attacking him from all aspects of his life, whether it's with his family, whether it may be with people he rubbed elbows with on the golf course, whether it may be anything in terms of his past dealings when he was a much younger gentleman. Even with that, you know, you know, how can society get mad at something that they technically created? Let me explain. For someone like that who has that level of power, in reference to him being Trump Sr. that we're talking about, right? Society has allowed him to get away with certain things. And when I say society, to be more specific, women that have surrounded him for quite some time allowed him to get away with certain things. It's kind of like a kid sticking their hand in a cookie jar. If you keep allowing them to do it without any without disciplining them, they're gonna continue to do it. And let's face it, some of these women, if you look at some of the older images and the types of women that he surrounded himself around, and if you look at their background, without saying too much, and sorry, not sorry, I'm gonna also say, even with his current spouse too, Melania, I looked at her background too, and yeah. You would have to say, well, whose fault is that? The fact of the matter is, we can't all blame that on him. We can't all say that, oh, this is all his fault. He should have known better. No. See, as women, we have to take some ownership and some responsibility of our dealings as well. Meaning, if you have been known as one to be very loose or allowed certain individuals to get away with certain things just because you want stardom, you want fame, you want notoriety, all right? So you allow certain things to take form, you allow certain individuals to have their way with you just so you can get that notoriety. You can't just say, oh, it's all my fault. Well, you can't say that it's all his fault. No, you had a part to play in it too, because it takes two to tango. Let's be real about that too. So even with a lot of these women that came up, you know, submitting these cases about why, well, these lawsuits in reference to Donald Trump Sr., because they felt like he sexually assaulted them and blah, 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 and they decided to come from behind the bushes and everything. And they're coming out 10 plus years later to speak their truth. First and foremost, why did it take you so long to come out and speak your truth? Why are you choosing to do it now? And let's face it, if it was something that was really detrimental, if it's something that was really damaging to you, again, why didn't you say anything sooner? Why are you choosing to come out of the woodworks now about it? Which, in my opinion, it's all happening now for a reason. I feel like some of these people are being coaxed to do it in some way. That's just my opinion. I feel like in some way, in some way or another, they're being coaxed. It's coming from some other source that's egging them on that you have to do this. You need to do this because this is going against this guy, because he's gaining too much notoriety, he's gaining too much control, too much respect, especially now because of all that's been happening with this current administration that's in office, and how people, even those who are Team Blue, are starting to realize, like, man, I really do miss Trump being in office. So now we have some of those individuals who are starting to shift gears and really want to move into supporting him. And now that that's happening, the other side feels like they need to find ways to kind of pull the reins on the situation, because now they feel that they are losing grip of society in some form or another. And again, that's just my opinion. So what better way than to bring up old dirt, to bring up things that are considered minute. And I say minute in the sense that for a lot of us who are looking from the outside in, we really don't care about it. And to be quite honest, for a lot of us who truly know that you are not the only innocent bystander in the situation, you see. Again, kind of go back to the statement I made a moment ago, it takes two to tango. So for all we know, an example where one lady said that he stuck his hand up her skirt or dress at a table. They were taking pictures, and I guess he put his fingers up, God knows what, right? For all we know, we don't even know if she gave him the okay to do it, right? So it's these type of things you have to think about, because it's a one-sided story. We have to take in consideration all parties involved, who was there, and who else could speak on it. You can't just take one person's perspective or story for face value and not assume that, wait a minute, you told us this, but could you have possibly did something or said something to him that would have gave him the impression that it was okay to do that? So there's a lot more to it that we need to be just more receptive to. But to sum it all up, in my opinion, I feel like the reason why all of this is happening is because he does truly, in fact, have a deep calling on his life. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people fail to realize, especially those who are doing all this coaxing behind the scenes, to have these people come out of the woodworks that have not been seen in like 10 plus years in the public. And for a lot of us looking from the outside in, we're looking at like, who are these people? A lot of us kind of like, and we hear the stories, you know, and it's court case after court case after court case. And stuff is starting to become so consistent that it's starting to become mind-numbing. For me, honestly, even hearing the stories in regards to the court cases, it's like a lot of it for me is going in one ear and out the other, because it's like, oh, another day of this. Okay, what else is new? He has a big calling on his life, and I stand behind that. I truly do. That's the only thing, the only possible reason. The only plausible reason as for why all of this is coming at him so heavy. And I feel that God in some way knows that this man is built for it. He's built for it tough, to put it plainly. You know, he's never gonna put anything on us, too much on us that we cannot bear it. I think this is all maybe a test for him. And he's gonna get through it. He will. But this is gonna also be a learning lesson for him, as far as being careful with who you rub elbows with. Be careful with the company that you keep. part of doing that, just continue to clean house. Whether that may be with friends, whether that may be with family too. That part could be a tough pill to swallow, I know. But maybe that's going to be something that is needed to go forward. And to continue to go against the grain. Don't be afraid to go against the grain. All of this is going to be over in due time, of course. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I feel like the only plausible reason why all of this is being thrown at him so heavily and it's coming from so many different areas, it has to be because he does have a calling on his life. What are you guys' thoughts about that? Why do you guys feel like he keeps being targeted? Why is it that Don Trump Sr. keeps being targeted? What could be the real reason behind it? I can even think back to the times when some of the other political figures were in office. I'm going to talk about Biden. Let's talk about Biden now. We could talk about Obama. We could talk about Bush, both the Bushes. We could talk about Reagan. Even go as far as Nixon. We could talk about Nixon too. If you guys want to talk about those people too, or hear my thoughts about them in terms of their time in office, I'll be open to doing videos about that too. If you ever are interested in it, you guys just let me know. We can definitely have videos about those particular political figures as well. FDR. He has some very interesting things to come about when he was in office too, now that I think about it. That's a whole nother video. Holy smokes. Hoover's another one. My gosh. Even Jefferson. I still think Jefferson was a really good president, in my opinion, even with all that was tied to him in terms of him and everything else in terms of his story. You know, and his story is actually not it's not an abnormal one. I have my thoughts about it, but I still think he had a fairly decent background, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts about in regards to even the prior figures, you know, that were in office? Like, have you noticed any attacks, whether it came to sexual harassment, whether it came to bad dealings in terms of the political arena, where things were done unethically behind the scenes? Have you noticed such a major force of energy being thrown at an individual in a political space? Anything that was as in depth as it is now when it comes to Trump. Have you noticed that with any of the other previous political figures or no? In my opinion, I haven't noticed that. I think it's been more of a heavy attack, more of a target towards this guy for some reason versus any other ones. I don't think I've ever seen such a heavy attack done on Obama. Not as heavy. I haven't seen much of a heavy attack on Bush, especially both of the Bushes, Senior and then the most recent one. Moving along. I haven't seen much of a major attack done on Clinton, other than the Lewinsky thing, which is so interesting because we're going to talk about that. Let's really talk about it. The fact of the matter is, cheating happens. It happens more than people realize or want to accept. Let's just say that. And it takes two to tango, right? we don't know the details of any of this. We don't know who agreed to what, whether one gave the okay for something to go on or not. As long as it wasn't in the public eye as heavy. We don't know none of it. All right. It could have been agreed on or any of that. So I think it was just the time that we were living in, why it seemed like it was such a huge deal. But nowadays you hear about, oh, so-and-so cheated on this person. It's like, oh, really? Wow, that sucks. But it's like, it's not such a hard hit because of the fact that it's such a common thing that comes up. It's not anything that's truly surprising. Moving beyond that, even when it came down to like Reagan, or if it came down to like, let's say Nixon, especially in regards to Nixon, he wasn't attacked as heavily in the media during that time as Trump is. So again, kind of think about those individuals as far as some of the more recent presidential figures, to be more exact. I would say Trump is the only one that's truly been he's the only one that's truly been attacked the most. He's the one that seems to attract a lot of the negative forces towards him. Again, the reason behind it is because he has a much higher calling on his life. You guys see where I'm going with this. He's the only one I felt like that was truly like in our corner. Our corner being that as the people's corner. He didn't have much of a political background. I don't think he had really any political background, now that I think about it, compared to some of these other people where it was more generational, such as the Bushes. This is where a lot of us have to kind of like sit down and do our research and just sit down and kind of reflect. Like, what could be the reason why they're really going after this guy like a dog? Like, what the heck? It's like every time you look around, it's something in the news about him going to court about something and being charged with something. Why is that? He's been out of office for quite some time. Since this current administration got into office. Why? And yet, what's funny is because even with the current administration being in office, you find that the media, everyone else seems to still love talking about him versus even the current administration. That's very telling within itself. Don't hesitate to leave your comments in the comment section below if you haven't done so already. You can also message me on the other platforms as well as email. Be interested to hear you guys' thoughts about this, because I'm like, am I the only one that's seeing this? Like, I remember I mentioned it in a previous video, some of the things I've kind of noticed. And this one is with this one speech I saw that he gave, I think it was with the NRA. It was sometime last year. Excuse me. If you guys go listen to one of my more recent videos, I mentioned how I noticed certain energy around him. And that led me to realize like why this man is constantly being heavily targeted so much. And it was because of the fact that, as I said, he has a calling on his life. And as time progresses onward, and I'm starting to see more and more things play out, and all these different things that are coming up with him being thrown into having going to court, things like that, and media constantly wanting to attack him, and it's further confirming my initial analysis. The only reason why he's being attacked in this way, the only plausible reason is because the man has a calling on his life, and I still stand behind that statement 100%. Yeah, so with that being said, you guys can definitely message me on the other platforms. Also, consultations are still open, so if you are interested, definitely you can message me on Instagram or send me an email with your details, and we can definitely get that scheduled in. I'm actually, what is it? Oh yes, I'm actually pretty open for this week, except Friday and Thursday. Those 2 days, not much left in terms of spots. I think on Thursday I have at least one spot left. But I was going to say also, as far as the website, we're making some updates to it. So as soon as I have the final update from my team, I will make sure to update you guys on it, and I will make sure to include the link in the description box below. So rest assured, I will keep you guys posted. But as always, you guys, definitely send you with love and light, and I will see you in the next video.